CNT120, Chapter 2 Lab. We're moving on to Part 2, our first diagram that we're going to create. Super quickly, we're going to create this diagram using a diagram software that we can get for free. And then we will come back in the third part and create this diagram in the diagram software for Part 3 of the lab. All right, so to get started, I want to connect that diagramming software to my Google Drive. So I logged into my Google Drive, and I went to My Hack, Google Apps over here, and then Google Drive. You will use Google Drive for students, but I use Google Drive for employees. And then in here, I have a 120 folder, and I have a folder created for labs. You might want to do the exact same thing. You know, if you have a 120 folder, create a new folder here for labs or Chapter 2 Lab, something like that. Here is my Chapter 2 Lab demo files that I created. I'm going to open that folder. And the diagrams we're going to create, we're going to save into here, and then we can download them for submission to D2L. So we are going to connect to our drive a program called Draw.io. Over the years, it's been called Draw.io, Diagrams.net, and they're back to like Draw.io, but I left both names there as a just in case. So I'm going to go to my drive, and I'll say New. And down here at the bottom, there's an option to connect more apps. Now, you'll see mine's already connected, but I'm going to show you how to do it. We'll do connect more apps, and I'm going to search for Draw.io. So up here at the top, I'll search for Draw.io, and that should come up on my list. There it is right there. Okay, Draw.io. Again, it used to be called Diagrams.net, then Draw.io, etc. So I'm looking for that. I will highlight that. On yours, there'll be an option here to install, so do that. You might need to click a couple options to say authorize, it's okay to do this, etc. And do that, run through that process. And then once you do, over here on your drive, then when you say new, under the option or the applications here, one of the options now will be Draw.io. So I'm going to launch that to actually start the program that I can build a diagram in and save in my Google Drive. So I'll click on Draw.io. Again, the first time you do it, you might need to click, and authorize. You might even need to allow a pop-up. If a pop-up opens up, you might need to allow that. So do authorize. It's okay to save in the folder. Yes, allow pop-ups, etc. And eventually, after you do that a time or two, you'll get to an option here where it says, hey, do you want to create a blank diagram? Well, I do. Yeah. So I will click on the blank diagram option, and up here, I'm going to give it a name of, again, I'll do like CNT120, Chapter 2 Lab, and I'll put out here diagram, and I'll call it diagram 1 for my first one. The next one we'll call it diagram.2. Now I'm going to leave that Draw.io file extension alone. Leave that alone, and I'll do create, and it should be saving into my Google Drive, and I'm just going to point it to that folder. I'm going to do pick a folder, okay, and that way I can get it into my 120 folder. I'll do a list over here, and I'm going to find, no, I don't want it modified. I want it by name. So I'll search by name, and I'm going to look for my 120 folder, and I'll look for my labs folder, and I'll look for the Chapter 2 Lab. In my case, I'm calling it demo files, but I'll look for the Chapter 2 folder, and I will put it here. So under my labs, I'll highlight the Chapter 2 demos. That way I know the diagram goes there, and I'll do select. And it should now be saving this diagram to that specific folder, and I'll do save. And it should be creating this and saving it to my drive. All right. And eventually I will see that pop up here as a file that I'm saving. So give it a little time. It should show up there. All right. Now that we have it connected, here's my drawing utility. Let me describe a couple things on here. And then I'm probably going to just do a new podcast to do diagram 1 with you. All right. Here's your drawing tablet, if you will. Over on the left are the icons that we've read about in the book that I can add, shapes and so forth, and even the icons that I would use to make my drawings. Over on the right are tools for adjusting lines, arrows, colors, that sort of thing. First thing I need to do over here is make sure these icons that I need are there. So in here in the directions, I tell you here, I need to make sure that I'm adding, under more shapes, that I'm adding additional lists of icons. Now mine are already showing, but for you, we'll go more shapes down here. Okay, I'm going to click on more shapes, and I'm going to make sure that as I scroll down through the network area, make sure Cisco is showing. That'll give you the icons that look like what's in the book. I'll do network because those are general, and I'll do rack. That'll allow me to do the rack drawing that I'll do later. So I'll click all those and I'll do apply, and I'll say, yeah, please give me, give me the settings. Remember these settings, if you will. So I'll click apply, and then those icons will show up as list on the list over here as options to use. So if I were to open in here, let's do Cisco switches, and I open that, I will see a whole bunch of switch icons like I saw in the book. And if I hold my pointer over, it pops up that icon with a name underneath. And all I would need to do is click on that, drag it out here, drop it, and I've added that icon to my map. Okay, let me show you one or two other tidbits while we're here. I will go to Cisco. Let's go Cisco router. And I'm going to pick, there should be a real general router icon. There he is right there. I'll drag that out on the screen. And once I get my icons out here, I want to connect them. Well, to do that, if I just hold the pointer over the icon, you'll see arrows show up on each side. All I need to do is click on one of those and drag it to what I want to connect. And when it lights up, I'll let go and it'll connect the two. That's all I need to do to connect things. And if I move them around, they'll stay connected, which is what I want. Well, the next thing we might need to do at editor is adjust this line style. So all I need to do is highlight that, and over here I see all kinds of style options pop up. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this zigzag. I want it to be a straight line. So over here where I see the zigzag, I'll hit the drop down, and I'm just going to make it a straight line. That gets rid of that. And where I see the arrow, I don't really want that arrow showing up. So I'm going to click the arrow option over here, hit the drop down. I'm going to select none. I don't really want the arrows on there. Now that is just a straight line connection, which is what most of our diagrams that we're going to make need. So what I can do is over here is I can now make that the default style. So whenever I connect two things, it'll do that straight line connection. The next thing I might need to do is put labels on these devices. So to do that, if I double click on it, I see a little cursor show up at the bottom. If I just start typing, I'll put this label on Cisco, SCO, work, group, switch. That now, I have a label on that. And if I need to adjust that in any way, if I highlight it, over here on the right, the text tab comes up, and I can adjust the size, I can adjust the orientation, I can make it bold, I can change the color, okay? I can alter that on my icon. Again, all I do is double click on my device, start typing Cisco router, and if I need to alter that, when I highlight it over here, the text tab, I'll alter the size, font, color, etc. So there's the basics on getting up and going with our Drawio. I'm going to pause there. When I come back in the next podcast, we're going to duplicate this diagram. Okay? I'll be back in just a minute.